Putting the nation's debt into perspective. As of the making of this video, the United States national debt is $13,306 billion. In 1981, Ronald Reagan became president. The national debt was $997,855 million. By the end of his first term, the national debt had risen to $1,823,103 million. And by the end of his second term, when George Bush Sr. became president, the national debt had risen to $2,857,431 million. That is an increase of 286% in just 8 years. Between 1989 and 1993, while George Bush Sr. was president, the national debt had risen to $4.4 trillion. That is an increase of 154%. Bill Clinton then became president. He was president between 1993 and 2001. During that time period, the national debt increased from $4.4 trillion to $5.8 trillion. That was only an increase of $1.4 trillion. Compared to Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan, that wasn't that bad. In 2001, when George W. Bush became president, the national debt was $5.8 trillion. By the time he left office in 2009, the national debt was up to $10.5 trillion. Up to this point, that was the fastest that the national debt has grown in history. On average, during those 8 years that George W. Bush was in office, the national debt had risen by $587 billion each year. January 2009, Obama became president and inherited a $10.5 trillion debt. Being that he campaigned on change, one would think that he would have been looking for a way to reverse the trend of the past 28 years. Unfortunately, he didn't. Obama has been president for just 1 year and 8 months. As of the making of this video, the national debt has risen from $10.5 trillion to $13.3 trillion. In just 1 year and 8 months, the debt has risen by $2.8 trillion. To put that into perspective, if it was a shame to have the debt raise $587 billion a year under George W. Bush, which was the quickest the debt has risen in history, what are we to think about it raising $1.7 trillion a year since Obama took office? The national debt under Obama is increasing nearly 3 times faster than it was under George W. Bush. At the rate we're going, if the spending under the Obama administration doesn't get under control, in 2013, if Obama doesn't have a second term as president, the national debt would have risen by $6.7 trillion, all the way to a staggering $20 trillion. If he remains president for a second term, we can expect the national debt to rise to $27 trillion. This is not even taking into consideration the added expense of nationalized health care and the failing economy. The worse the economy gets, the less money taken in by the federal government through taxes. I can't even begin to estimate what it will actually be after 8 years of Obama. It is imperative as a nation that we get this spending under control. Our security as a nation depends on it. How much is $1 trillion? Inquiring minds want to know. All this talk about stimulus packages and bailouts, $1 billion, $100 billion, $800 billion, $1 trillion. What does that look like? I mean, these various numbers are tossed around like so many doggy treats. So I thought I'd take Google SketchUp out for a test drive and try to get a sense of what exactly $1 trillion looks like. We'll start with a $100 bill, currently the largest U.S. denomination in general circulation. Most everyone has seen them, slightly fewer have owned them, guaranteed to make friends wherever they go. A packet of $100 $100 bills is less than a half-inch thick and contains $10,000. It fits nicely into your pocket and is more than enough for a week or two of shamefully decadent fun. Believe it or not, this next little pile is $1 million, 100 packets of $10,000. You could stuff that into a grocery bag and walk around with it. While a measly $1 million looked a little unimpressive, $100 million is a little more respectable. It fits neatly onto a standard pallet. And $1 billion. Now we're really getting somewhere. Next, we'll look at $1 trillion. This is that number we've been hearing so much about. What is $1 trillion? Well, it's a million million. It's 1,000 billion. It's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. Are you ready for this? I give you $1 trillion. And notice, those pallets are double stacked $100 bills. So the next time you hear your congressman toss around the phrase $1 trillion, that's what they are really talking about. At the rate Congress is spending our money, we'll be out of trees by 2012. For this reason, a new bill will be issued to reduce paper waste and commemorate the new monetary philosophy in America, presenting the all-new $1 trillion bill. Let's put $1 trillion in terms of weight. A single paper bill, regardless of denomination, is about 1 gram in weight. That's about the same as the salt that's in one of those fast food salt packets. $10,000 in $100 bills weighs about 3.5 ounces, or slightly less than a McDonald's quarter pounder. $1 million weighs about 22 pounds, and $1 billion weighs 22,000 pounds. Last but not least, $1 trillion weighs 22 million pounds. An average 18-wheeler truck can carry about 44,000 pounds of cargo. It would take 500 fully loaded 18-wheelers to haul $1 trillion. Currently, the national debt is $13,306 billion. To haul that much paper currency from New York City to Los Angeles, a 2,809-mile trip, it would take 6,653 fully loaded 18-wheelers, all of them having to traverse the 2,809-mile trip, each of them getting only about 5.5 miles to a gallon. Each truck would need at least 511 gallons. All 6,653 trucks would have a combined fuel consumption of 3,399,683 gallons. At an average cost of $3 a gallon, it would cost $10,199,049 just in fuel costs. Currently, the U.S. population is 309,963,000. If we were to divide the national debt equally among every man, woman, and child, each of us would owe $43,000. I could go on and on about the enormity of the national debt, but I think at this point it would be ridiculously redundant. We the people need to vote for the political leaders who have a sense of fiscal responsibility. If this debt doesn't start to decrease soon, the interest alone on the national debt would be so enormous that the total taxes collected will only be enough to pay for the interest. As a nation, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We are destroying the future of this great country, leaving a legacy of financial ruin for our children to clean up.